we are joined by Major General Prashant Srivastava. Thank you so much, sir, for talking to Republic. Sir, I would like to know from your side, what is your view as far as the terrorism in South Kashmir is concerned, and where from the funding comes?
Okay, Zeenat, firstly, welcome to Avantipur, the headquarters of the team Victorious and Fearless. Terrorism in Kashmir, in any case, terrorism is a very complex phenomenon, you understand that. And Kashmir itself is a society which represents a mini India. It's a microcosm of India. You have a very rich cultural heritage, traditions and values. Now, this bonding which cut across the culture and religion that existed in Kashmir over the years was not palatable to our adversary. And you're aware, over the years, he infiltrated a large number of terrorists to inflict mindless violence, polluted the minds of the younger generation through a very toxic narrative, as also through disinformation campaigns. And all of this created a kind of an environment wherein the terrorism thrived. How things have changed? Things have changed, and you're well aware how they have changed in the past, at least past 3 years, I can say for sure. And they've changed for so much more better. The terrorism and the violence indices are down remarkably. You're aware that you yourself just mentioned the number of terrorists have been neutralized have been exceptionally higher, and the good thing is that recruitment is down significantly. The various things that we used to associate with unrest and violence, things like stone pelting, those gathering and things like that, which is not there. Not a single such incident has occurred, not only in last 1 year, but I would say in last about 2.5, 3 years. So things have improved a lot. So far as the funding part is concerned, and you've been covering this aspect extensively. I've heard you in a couple of pieces that you've done. The agencies have got a handle on all of these people who have been funding these nefarious activities. The basic source has been those, the various Hawala networks that have been providing money either through global radical organization or through various those proselytizing NGOs that have been there, or through the narcotics, various Benami properties, these sand and land mafias, and all of that. These people have been brought to justice in the recent past, and in fact continue to do so. So the funding have been identified. And the agencies are after them, and all of them would be brought to justice sooner than later.
Major General Prashant, we have seen the operations the way they have been carried. In South Kashmir, the majority of the operations were carried by the joint forces. Have the operations become more lethal to send a larger message?
No, it's not. See, the operations have been continuing the same way that we've been doing so. In fact, we should not associate the number of terrorists neutralized in relation and correlated to the counter-terrorist operation that have been undertaken. What has changed is that there's a greater amount of synergy that has evolved between all the agencies. And I think if I understand the question correctly, the lethality is what perhaps you are referring to is the conversion rate of information with the outcome of an operation. If to that extent, yes. If you were to look into the number of inputs we have got and the outcomes that have been generated, yes, that has been significantly higher. Sometimes people do think that's lethal. No, that's not the case. And you're aware, in recent past, in fact, there was surrender that were taken in a live operation where the boy came out, and this was facilitated by the army. The company commander himself got him out of the contact zone, made sure that there was no firing, there is no kind of a misunderstanding, and this is despite the fact that the terrorist was in a live contact, and he realized the futility of it. And this was not one isolated incident. There's a number of such incidents that have taken place, not only now, but in last about, I can say, about 12 to 14 months. So by no means the operational modus operandi, tempo, all of them continue to remain the same. And there's a larger understanding amongst the people who have picked up weapon that how wrong they were, and that's how there is a greater number of surrenders that have taken place. There's also a number of apprehensions that have taken place. And if I were to give the total number, you already mentioned that in complete out of 150 odd terrorists that have been neutralized across J&K, 70% have been, more than 70% have been South Kashmir. This includes the number of terrorists who have surrendered or have apprehended as well. So there is nothing extraordinarily lethal about the operation that have been conducted. They've been conducted exactly in the same manner.
Sir, you talked about the surrender during the live operations. We have seen in recent past also, and this army has been making statements that even they are ready to take the casualty of an injury of its own boy if somebody wants to surrender. That way, do you see that a graph of terrorism is coming down?
Oh yes. I'll answer this because there has been a discernible shift in the modus operandi of the terrorist. And this is born out of the fact that terrorists are not welcome anymore. They're not welcome in the houses of the locals, as was the case, let's say, 5 years, 10 years back. They have also started, targeting the civilians, and that is also due to the fact that they realize that if a contacts were to take place, and if they were to target civilians, the first focus of the security forces, the army, the police, is to extricate those civilians out of that target area. In the bargain, we have bought casualties. A recent encounter, you're aware, which had taken place in Kulgam, and in which that Pakistani terrorist was holed up. And he deliberately lobbed, while we were in the process of getting the civilians out of the target area, deliberately lobbed grenades. 2 of the civilians were injured. The officer who went out to extricate them also got a gunshot wound. But in the bargain, we were able to get them out. Of course, all of them are recovering and recuperating well at the base hospital. But this is exactly what they are trying to do. And so in a larger picture, the terrorist graph, if I have to say, the overall violence parameters, they have come down significantly, and that is directly to do with 2 factors. One, the number of terrorists are down. Number 2, the recruitment is low, and of course, associated things that there are the far lesser number of people who associate with these kind of people. So all in all, yes, you're right. The violence parameters have come down. The terrorism has come down, and I think this is the lowest number we've ever had in history of violence in J&K, whether in terms of number of active terrorists or in number of recruitment that has taken place.
As you talked about the number of terrorist operations, surrenders, so how many terrorists are operating in, if you talk about the South Kashmir, which is your JD, and what about the outfits, their strength, what about the foreign component, because we are seeing in majority of the operations now, which earlier was not there, that we are seeing now foreign terrorists getting more neutralized in the last couple of years.
Yes, that's a very relevant question that you've raised, and you see, I'll try and answer it in a as best possible manner, giving you a larger picture. To begin with, the number of terrorists, as per all the estimates that we have, there are close to about 70 terrorists that are operating in South Kashmir. More than 1/3 of them, in fact nearly half of them, would be the Pakistani terrorists. And they belong to 6 tanzeems, largely the 6 tanzeems that are there, the Lashkar, Jaish, HM, Al-Badr, AGUH and ISJK. 90% of these terrorists belong to the first 3 tanzeems, the Lashkar, Jaish and HM. Lashkar, of course, you're aware, is the virtually the part of the deep state of Pakistan, and is flush with funds, and that's the reason, despite the fact that it has suffered maximum neutralization, it has also been able to inspire recruitment, whatever has taken place. So as Jaish is concerned, you're aware, in last about 12 to 14 months, we have decimated the complete leadership. This group has the maximum number of Pakistanis, and that number endures. Jaish. So HM is concerned, in the recent times, in this year particularly, the complete hierarchy has been neutralized. One odd leaders who are left are absolutely prominent by their absence. They have not been able to inspire any recruitment. So HM has virtually had no recruitment that they've been able to undertake. So there is a concerted effort by our adversary to ensure that the other 3 groups get resuscitated. And so that's how the numbers are there. But you are absolutely right. The Pakistanis are coming out because the local terrorists have reduced. So they are come out not only to perpetuate the violence, because otherwise they go irrelevant, which in any case since 2019 the narrative has absolutely become irrelevant. and they're all those things that they're talking about have been debunked, and the wheel of deceit and deception has been lifted over their whatever plans that they had. So they are coming out in larger numbers, and that's the reason they've been utilized in that many numbers. I think in the last, I can say for sure, for less 12 to 14 months, that the maximum number of Pakistanis have been utilized, and more will be, because they have to come out and then they'll be targeted.
We talked about the anti-terror operations. We also talked about the local support, because the kind of press releases we read, the first thing is the input was generated. It was a human int or something. But again, we cannot forget the incidents of targeted killings in the valley, and many of them had also taken place in South Kashmir. How do you see that?
Yeah. So see, some ways the response to this question is related to what I mentioned in some of the earlier questions, earlier answers. See, if you look at the larger construct of last so many years that Pakistan has been able to kind of spread across, since August 2019, this they have been seen through. They have virtually, like I mentioned, they virtually become irrelevant. What do? So to sustain the cycle of violence, to ensure that the gun culture endures here, they are, and larger thing, that they continue to be relevant to this place. They are indulging into these acts of violence, and let me assure you, these are not random acts of violence. These are well calibrated acts of terrorism. And the targets are selected, the go-ahead is given from across, and the people and those are taken care of, and are targeted, those civilians and non-local laborers, those innocent, peace-loving people. And this is essentially to ensure that the fear and terror which has defined this area for so many years endures. And because they have become irrelevant, more so sometimes you see, you witness these. But in the same breath, I would like to add that you are aware that any such incident, the perpetrators of them have been brought to justice, and all of them have been brought to justice in a defined timeline, and there are a large number of people who are raising their voice against them. You would recall that there was an incident in South Kashmir when one of the Kashmiri Pandits were targeted. There was a candlelight vigil, which is perhaps unheard of in the past, which was in Shopia, which was spontaneous. People just came out and called out for Pakistan for what it is, and made sure that that such things don't take place. And so this is a very encouraging sign. So despite the fact that whatever our adversary is trying to do, the society has seen through that. They have reaped the dividends of peace and prosperity that have come along in the past couple of years, and they want to be part of that new kind of enthusiasm and optimism that is manifesting here. So even if while these incidents are there, they have reduced significantly, and if anybody who is perpetuating them, collectively we are going to neutralize them. I mean, when I say collectively, it is not just us and the security forces.
Society as whole. Since you said that yes, majority of the people, terrorists involved in these target killings, they were neutralized. But at the same time, we have seen in many of the press releases, the forces admitting that hybrid terrorists were part of these killings. They too were neutralized or identified or booked. How do you see the trend of hybrid terrorists, which some years back was unheard? Is it a challenge for every security force now?
See, terrorist is a terrorist. You can call them whatever name you want to call them, hybrid or unlisted or whatever. The fact remains is that yes, this is people our adversary who has invested into this violence for so many years is trying to ensure that some way or other this investment of his does not go waste. So for that, it is identifying those gullible, impressionable youth who sometimes don't even understand what they are into. And let me tell you this, more often than not, it is not about ideology, it is about just simple money. And it's like a criminal activity which is there. So yes, it sometimes does become a challenge because we don't know who the terrorist is, and till such time that act is undertaken or perpetuated by that person. But once that happens, yes, the everything else, the justice follows and chases him and takes him to whatever end that he's supposed to be. But yes, at times this unnamed terrorist is a challenge. Yes, it's a challenge, but it's not that something that we've been addressing it in a most concerted manner, in a collective manner, and that's the reason why these numbers also have come down. And as a society, there's like what we mentioned, you just mentioned, as a society you have brought down and called out these people. So even these numbers have come down.
Major General Prashant, post abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, many things have changed in the valley. How has it helped you in keeping peace in the valley? As you said, numbers have come down, the recruitment has come down, better operations are there, no collateral damage is there, human interest being generated. So how has it helped you in keeping the valley at peace? That is the mission also of the army.
Yeah. Okay, now that's a very, that question requires a little more explanation. See, over the years, you've seen that how we operated, but Article 370 and 35 Alpha, their removal gave them, the people of Kashmir, the same sense as was available to everyone else. The sense of optimism, the ability to realize their dreams, an environment to sustain whatever they cherish. So that's been made available to them. Now, if somebody has got used to such a, and of course you're aware that various indices have improved. There's a rejuvenation all around. The societal assimilation is more evident. The Awam and Army connect has, which was always there in any case, has become even more evident. And so I think there is a sense, like I mentioned, all across that this assimilation that has come about is good for the people in every possible manner, and it's evident on the streets. Few years down the line, few years down the road, when I was here, I would drive across and people just turn around. Today you go to the streets, you walk across, you drive across, there are children who are waving at you, saluting you. The various initiatives and programs that are there, there's a spontaneous gathering of people to participate in those initiatives of the government and administration. So people by and large are in every district in South Kashmir as anywhere else in J&K are relishing this new kind of environment where they have they can sustain themselves and their dreams as they thought of, which was not possible perhaps few years back. So and an army has been part of it. How we have been part of it is that, of course, we have invested a lot of blood and treasure into this. We are invested in this by ensuring that the environment endures. We are by carrying out our tempo of operations remains. We are also invested in this by the fact that the initiatives that are various Sadbhavana initiatives, various administrative initiatives that have been taken as part of Youth Connect or as part of empowerment of women, skill development, education, also reach out to the people that they're supposed to.
As you cited about the different programs being run by Indian Army for the people of Jammu and Kashmir, one such program is Sahi Rasta, raising awareness on terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. What is the success rate in South Kashmir? Because South Kashmir, which earlier was known as hotbed of terrorism, majority of the terrorists would come from South Kashmir, and also the operations, majority have been reported from the South Kashmir.
So Sahi Rasta literally translates into right path. I think that's a phenomenal, kind of an effort that has been undertaken by the Army administration and the volunteers that are gathered together. You're aware of the purpose of the program, and it's basically to identify those misguided youth and put them through this program. And interestingly, I must add that the youth or the children who are part of this program are the ones who parents themselves have identified and who are likely to go wayward. So, so far as South Kashmir is concerned, this program has been immensely successful. In fact, all the children who have gone through this program, not one has picked up a weapon or gone on the path of violence. So I think South Kashmir is reaping benefit of the children who have been put through this particular very path-breaking program.
Major General, one last question. You are talking about the peace being established now, as LG Manoj Sinha has also made a statement. Delhi interested in establishing peace. We are not buying peace, and we can see that how the things are changing. Now the youngsters, even the girls are coming out. The women empowerment is more. The youngsters are looking for future. There is less bloodshed compared to what was there few years back. How painful is this for Pakistan?
I think you are the reporter. You know better. But the fact remains is that of course it must be. I'm sure, because like I said, it's irrelevant. People used to recognize perhaps in earlier days with Pakistan for whatever reasons. They have no reason to do so. We know what state that particular country is in. But I would rather relate to the way we ourselves have evolved in the last 2.5, 3 years, when the society, the people, the parents, the mothers, the first generation people who were part of this violence in the early 90s, they have, like I mentioned, have called out the perpetrators of these violent bloodshed, mindless bloodshed which has been taking place. So, I would rather not talk about this, because they're totally irrelevant to this is our country, and the people come to realize here when they say, you've seen the Tiranga rallies that we had in the month of August. I haven't seen anything like this. It was unprecedented, and the small children, driving across the street with holding the mother's finger and carrying a flag in their hand. And the moment they look at you, they wave the flag back. And the shopkeepers putting it on their cycles and scooters and their vending vehicles. So there is, if I were to talk about the way we are, J&K is seeing a true sense of rejuvenation, where people are a part of the mainstream. They want to be part of the India that we've all dreamt of, and which is what is manifesting now. And I think I would rather talk about that this is the India that all of us, and these are not my words, incidentally. These are words as I listen from the boys and girls when I interact with them across the so-called hotbed of terrorism, which South Kashmir was, but it isn't. And in days to come, I'm sure that would solve. We're going to squeeze this whatever the elements that are left out of the space.
Pakistan is irrelevant in Kashmir. India and Jammu and Kashmir is flourishing. People of J&K are holding Tilanga rallies and holding tricolor in their hands. Thank you so much, Major General Prashant Srivastava, for talking to Republic.